Hello there, this is Ray with Easy Simple Mechanic, and today we're going to continue the build on this Lincoln WeldanPower generator. Last time we were able to get the piston and rod back into the engine and the engine assembled. So I guess we'll just continue from here, so please enjoy the episode. Thank you. Okay, so first we got to get this head cleaned, but I don't want to leave the compressor running with you all, so I'm going to fast forward where I'll put it on high speed for you so that you don't have to listen to the compressor running while I'm cleaning the head. We'll clean the bottom of the head and then we'll go ahead and start assembling this. Let's get with the cleaning. See, now we've got this cylinder head all cleaned out, all in here, and we've got this mating surface really smooth. I went ahead and I pulled out the spark plug. I had left it in there to get some cleaner in here and get the inside of that chamber really clean, because it had been carboned up probably from all that oil it was burning. But I did take it out so I could clean the threads out real good and make sure. But I'm going to go ahead and leave the spark plug in there so that once we put it together, nothing will get in there while we're working on the other stuff. Okay, so let me clean this mating surface right here. And then we'll get the gasket on here, and I'll go ahead and clean the surface on here as well before we put this head on. So let me just get a little bit on this rag, and we'll clean that up real good just before we get the gasket on there. Now on this head gasket, you don't want to put any kind of sealer. You don't want to put any silicone or any other kind of sealer on it. You know, it's gotta come in full contact with the cylinder head. And if you notice these studs on top of the engine block, is that when I took those out, they came out with the nuts. So I had to make sure and take the nuts off of the bolts. If you don't do that and you leave them on here, then if that stud was already bottomed out, you won't get pressure onto the head. So you've got to take them off of there and put them here where they go. Okay, so this is the cylinder head gasket that we're going to put on there, and this is an aluminum head, so you know you got to make sure that you torque this according to the sequence, so that you don't get any warpage going on the cylinder head. So we're going to go ahead and put this on there, and we'll go ahead and stick this cylinder head there. And then we'll go ahead and put these bolts on here. So now that this head is on here, and we just got these pretty much just run down, haven't really put any torque on them because we have to torque them in a sequence. So we got them run down just to where they're snug. So we want to make sure that they're just snug, okay? Just enough to make sure they're mating. Got to be mating. Okay, so the tightening sequence for these is going to be one on this side towards the, I guess that would be the stator shaft, and then right across from it is 2. Then we go across to the valve side, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. And you can find these, usually if you buy the kit, it may come in the instructions. If you don't find it there, you can find them online for these tightening torque sequence for these. And the tightening torque on this is 25 foot-pounds. So we'll start here and we'll just go that way. Once we hear that pop, we're done there. Two. I guess that's it then for the head gasket. So, and the cylinder head is on. So now I guess we'll move on to working on the next thing, which I guess is going to be to try and get this other side sealed up. So we'll put those parts on here, and then we'll go ahead and get this stuff sealed up on the side. So one of the two, either work on this side or get the stuff sealed up on the opposite side than the stator side to get it all sealed up. One of the things that we might try and do is we may try and crank this over and see if we can get this running before we put it together with the generator. We'll rig something up, see if we can get it running before we install it. So yeah. Well folks, it is the next day, and I didn't want to bore you all with the cleaning the parts thing again. So I just wanted to kind of catch you up on what we've done today. We went ahead and removed all of the covers and all of the pieces on the side of the engine. I hadn't wanted to do that beforehand because I wasn't sure that I was going to find the parts for the rest of the engine and all that before. So I figured why tear into that if we weren't going to do that. But now that we're getting close to really putting this back together and trying to see if it'll run and everything, I decided to go ahead and do the rest of this. So I went ahead and I removed the fuel pump here, and I cleaned the surface. I removed the cover to the gear here, the cam gear or flywheel, whatever you want to call this. Is the flywheel, I believe. The cam gear's on the other side. And then the points. And these points, you got to be careful because there is a little rod here that goes in there, and that's what pushes on the points to open and close them. And I went ahead and I cleaned up the cover that goes over what I thought was a magneto, but it's not. It's really just a coil, an ignition coil that goes on this cover here, that goes on this side of the engine, which houses the bearing, the crank bearing houses in here, and then there's a seal in here that goes in here for the shaft on the front. So I went ahead and I cleaned those parts up. I went ahead and cleaned the little breather that goes on the side of the engine, this breather here, which is going to go here. So what we need to do now is we're going to go ahead and start to get these pieces back on here that cover everything here, get all this back assembled, get our points put on there. And then before I put this cover on, I was going to put it on before, but what I wanted to do was I wanted to paint this side of the engine block because this cover covers a lot of the side of the block. And it looks like from factory, they went ahead and painted with everything assembled. And so some of the block did not get paint on it because it was blocked by this. And so what that allows it to do is then get some rust on it. I also want to put all these covers on and things on there because I do want to spray some of the rust on the cylinder head and around here with some of that etching acid or whatever that will handle the rust, as well as prep the surfaces to take some black paint. So hopefully it'll handle that rust situation. But I wanted to seal everything up before I went ahead and did that. Then the last thing I guess we'll do is we'll go ahead and put the carburetor on here. And I also got some parts that I need to run down for the fuel tank. Now, when I pulled the tank back out and everything, I recall now that there's a leak on the fuel tank, and I'm not sure how I'm gonna fix that yet, whether I'm gonna solder it, weld it, or whether I'm going to just use some of that epoxy to seal that up to get that tank. But I need some fuel hose. I need to get the tank and the shielding all cleaned up also, so we can then start putting everything else back together. Well, folks, and I guess that's gonna do it for this episode. I try and keep these episodes kind of short, so please like, share, and subscribe, and give it a thumbs up or a like. Write a comment if you wish to do so. And I thank you for watching. See you on the next one. Remember, learning is doing, and if you do every day, you're going to learn something new. Thank you.